This presentation is going to be about communication and how it has affected or will affect my past, present, and future life. The title of this presentation is Communication is Key. Like I said previously, my strength is communication. I am able to handle professional conversations and patient/customer interactions. What I mean by this is that I'm able to hold a professional conversation with members of authority, equal peers, or those working for me. I also am able to hold conversations with patients or customers about concerns, questions, or suggestions that they may have. I can also relate easier to patients or customers because I try to find a personal connection between what they're going through and what I've been through. Pros to communication skills. Communication skills make me more personable to customers and patients. By being able to personally relate to things that the patients or customers have been through, I'm able to establish a sense of trust and dependence between us. Patients and customers are more likely to come to me with problems or questions and feel like they can trust me with personal information. I can also make better first impressions during interviews and with colleagues because I can hold a conversation. It's important to be able to hold conversation in interviews because you have to answer questions about your professional and personal life. It's also good to hold conversation with colleagues because you establish a friendship or mutual understanding that you can rely on each other in the workplace, where communication would help. My communication skills would help me when working in fields like customer service or patient care. I say this because being able to conversate with customers and patients starts the beginning of a healthy professional work relationship. My skills could also help with bedside manner. I'll be able to talk to patients better and handle their questions and concerns. Bedside manner is one of the most important aspects of being a nurse. Being able to communicate with patients is also very important to the nursing field, and I think my skills in communication will sincerely help. I would also be able to handle the patients' families and their questions and concerns as well. The families of patients are just as important as the patient. You have to be sure that they understand what's going on with their loved one and that they are constantly informed. Informing and talking about medical information requires communication skills. Cons to communication. Although communication is a great skill to have, it definitely has its downsides. I tend to get emotionally attached to customers and patients. My emotional attachment usually stems from personal connections that I've made to the customer or patient when trying to relate to them and their situation. I also tend to talk a lot in situations, and it can sometimes be too much. When I get nervous or uncomfortable, I tend to ramble, and it can be overwhelming at times. Both of these things could hurt me in the long run when it comes to my future career. Ways to prevent these cons. When it comes to my emotional attachments to patients, I think it would be best to detach myself from patients and customers. By detaching myself and keeping things professional, I am at less risk to become emotionally involved. Although I will detach myself, I'll still try and relate to customers, but keep it professional and not personal. When it comes to talking too much, I think that I should try and take a breath and calm down. By breathing and calming down, I won't ramble as much and I can find which words I'm trying to say. This is a quote by James Humes about communication and leadership. It states that the art of communication is the language of leadership. This quote to me means in order to properly communicate, you need to be assertive and confident. Being assertive and confident means not taking no for an answer and being able to voice your opinion even if others don't agree. It also means that you cannot take things personally and you have to accept constructive criticism. Good communication plays a huge part of becoming a leader and being trusted by others. If you cannot communicate about things that are going on in the workplace or about patient information, then those around you cannot fully trust that you can give the proper care to a patient. It also seems like you're not a part of the team, and teamwork is a huge aspect of nursing. Currently, I'm a freshman at Florida Southern College. I am studying at their state-of-the-art BSN program. One day, I hope to become a nurse anesthetist. Communication plays a role in all of these things because in order to get into Florida Southern College, I had to go through many interview processes and apply to become a student. To get into the nursing program, I also had to apply and had to write a personal statement. I also had to apply for scholarships to be able to afford to go to Florida Southern, and those required many other interviews. And in my future, when I hopefully become a nurse anesthetist, I will need communication skills to be able to conversate with the doctors and the nurses involved with my patient and the families involved. In the past, I was employed as a receptionist for the aesthetic studio. I'm still technically employed and I've been working there for almost a year. I'm responsible for answering phones, checking social media accounts, handling the checkouts, and interacting with customers. I've also volunteered in multiple organizations in the last 5 years. One of the organizations that I talk most highly about is the Firehouse Cultural Center, where I was a camp counselor. I was responsible for watching the kids, planning activities, talking to parents, and making sure the other volunteers followed the rules. Some of the uses of my communication skills in the past would be as a receptionist, using my communication skills in my daily tasks. I communicate to the customers about their services and their satisfaction, and I also communicate with my boss on a daily basis about the customers that come in and the deals and sales that she's offering. As a camp counselor, I also had to use communication daily. I had to speak with children about their behavioral problems, and I also had to report back to their parents about how their children had behaved that day. I was also responsible for planning activities, which means talking to many venues and entertainment groups to come to the camp. What led me to nursing? I'm a huge people person, and all of my past jobs and volunteer work, I've been directly related to people. I want to be able to help others live their best lives, the best that they can. As a nurse anesthetist, I'll be able to give people a second chance at life and hopefully a healthier, happier version. Communication in nursing. I can use communication between staff and colleagues in the medical field. Communication is key in the medical field because patients are relying on us to relay back information that they're telling us about their history of medical problems or their symptoms. I also can use it when talking to patients and their families. As a nurse, we're responsible to make sure that the patient understands what's going on at all times and keeping their family updated as the process continues. There's also many administrative things that I could use communication for. From interstaff communication and outside opinions, communication is used everywhere. This is a quote by Lewis Capps about communication's role in the nursing field. It states, "Nurses serve their patients in the most important capacities. We know that they serve as our first lines of communication when something goes wrong or when we are concerned about health." To me, this quote states the obvious. Communication is a vital part of nursing. We are responsible for the communication of information to and from the patient. We are the patient's biggest advocate. If we don't relate the information to the patient's doctor, then how are they supposed to know about the patient's medical history and possible complications? Our communication efforts are very important to the health of a patient. Some examples of communications in nursing would be things like nurses helping to explain the diagnosis to a patient and help their families coping with the news. It's important to make sure the patient understands his or her diagnosis and the treatment options, and families play a huge role in the deciding of treatment. It's a nurse's job to explain what the doctor is trying to say and with your treatment options, what your treatment options could be in the long run. Nurses also handle all of the questions that come along with the results and the tests and treatment. We make sure the patient has a full understanding of everything that's going on while they go to whether they go to their primary care doctor or they end up in the hospital. My motivation for the future. I want to be able to help others and use my skills to make a difference in people's lives. My communication skills have boosted me into an amazing college and has given me multiple opportunities to excel in my future career. I want to take this opportunity that I've been given to help others in their lives when I eventually become a nurse anesthetist. I also want to continue to use my communication skills to better myself and my professional life. My dream outcome. I want to hopefully one day become a nurse anesthetist and be able to make a stable living for myself. I also want to continue to use my communication skills to improve my quality of life and my people skills. In my profession, it'll be very vital that I have well-established people skills and will be able to talk between patients, families, and colleagues. I hope to keep my communication skills at the top of my game and continue to make connections with the people around me. Communication in life. Communication is all around us. We use it between friends, family, coworkers, and in our professional lives. There's never a moment that we're not using communication. We make connections to communication every day. Without communication, we wouldn't have a way to talk to others and to make connections and relate to people that we wouldn't normally relate to. This is a quote from Anthony Robbins about communication in life. The quote states, "The quality of your communication is the quality of your life." Without communication, life wouldn't mean nearly as much. The connections we are able to make add people and passion into our lives. If we couldn't communicate, we couldn't realize what we had true passions for or what people really meant to us. Communication connects us to the world and connects us to the people surrounding us. In conclusion, on my communication skills, communication has been my best skill my entire life. It has allowed me to surround myself with people who care and love me. It also allowed myself to relate to people with the same similar interests as me or the same background. It's also given me a way to make connections to customers and patients and build a professional relationship with them. I hope to be able to continue to use it in my future. It is a great skill to have going into the nursing field and would be a great asset to bring with me into the nursing workforce.